Welcome to NZ Pocket Guide, New Zealand's largest travel guide. Visit nzpocketguide.com for thousands of tips, hidden gems, and ways to plan the perfect trip in New Zealand. This is a readout of an article available for free on the website. Check out the link in the description and let's get started. The Honeymoon Guide to New Zealand. How to plan a honeymoon to New Zealand. Embark on your new adventure together in the most adventurous country in the world. New Zealand's natural wonders and active spirit is infectious, enabling you to enjoy exciting adrenaline, foodie and cultural experiences together. Additionally, with a diverse array of snow-capped mountains, golden sand beaches, lush forests and reflective lakes, New Zealand can't help but create a stunning backdrop to a honeymoon. Plan yours with this complete honeymoon guide to New Zealand. About New Zealand. Location. New Zealand is a country in the continent of Oceania. Located in the South Pacific Ocean, New Zealand is approximately 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles, east of Australia and around 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles, south of the South Pacific Islands. Size: 268,021 square kilometers, 103,483 mi2. New Zealand is long and narrow, approximately 1,600 kilometers, 990 miles, long and around 400 kilometers, 250 miles at its widest point. Climate. New Zealand has a diverse climate determined by the ocean, mountains and prevailing winds. The mean average temperatures are 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, in the South Island to 16 degrees Celsius, 61 degrees Fahrenheit, in the North Island. Time zone, UTC/GMT +12. Population, 5 million. Languages, English, Māori and New Zealand Sign Language. Getting to New Zealand. First things first, you'll need to see if you are able to travel to New Zealand due to restrictions put in place at the borders after the COVID-19 outbreak. Visit covid19.government.nz for the latest travel information. Next, how do you get to New Zealand? The best way is via the skies. Direct flights to New Zealand can be found in the US, Canada, South America, Asia, Australia and the South Pacific Islands. Coming further afield from destinations such as in Europe, and you'll need to catch at least one connecting flight. See our complete guide on how to get to New Zealand to dive deeper into the subject. Otherwise, here's a quick rundown. Flight times to New Zealand. That's right, New Zealand is far from pretty much everywhere. With that, flight times are long, as shown below with timings based on the most direct routes. Argentina, 12 hours 30 minutes, Brazil, 15 hours 30 minutes, Canada, 16 hours 30 minutes, China, 13 hours 30 minutes, Denmark, 22 hours, Finland, 20 hours, France, 23 hours 30 minutes, Germany, 22 hours 30 minutes, Hong Kong, 11 hours, Israel, 32 hours, Italy, 22 hours 30 minutes, Japan, 11 hours, Korea, 12 hours, Malaysia, 11 hours, Netherlands, 22 hours 30 minutes, Philippines, 10 hours 30 minutes, Singapore, 10 hours 30 minutes, Sweden, 21 hours, Taiwan, 11 hours, United Kingdom, 22 hours 30 minutes, USA-12 hours, Vietnam, 12 hours 30 minutes. Arriving in New Zealand. Most international travelers arrive in New Zealand at Auckland Airport, AKL, on the North Island. For starting your travels on the South Island, there are many connections to Christchurch Airport, CHC, and from Australia to Queenstown Airport, ZQN. Note that limited flights also arrive from overseas at Wellington Airport, WLG, and Dunedin, DUD. Find out which airport makes the most sense for your honeymoon using our guide, which airport to arrive in New Zealand. On arrival at a New Zealand airport, you will experience strict biosecurity measures at the border. This involves declaring risk items that you have packed in your luggage, including common items like food and sports gear. Failing to declare such items can incur an instant $400 New Zealand fine, which wouldn't be the best start to your honeymoon. Be prepared by following our advice and everything you need to know about arriving in a New Zealand airport on nzpocketguide.com. When to visit New Zealand. When is the best time for a honeymoon in New Zealand? New Zealand is a year-round destination with each season offering its own charms. Even in summer, New Zealand experiences what locals like to call 4 seasons in a day, meaning that the weather can change with little notice. For this reason, we do not recommend planning your honeymoon too much around the weather. Nevertheless, here's an idea of New Zealand's seasons. Summer, December to February. Summer is the warmest time of year, reaching highs of 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Expect finer days than during the rest of the year. Summer is also the busy tourist season. Autumn, March to May. Autumn has milder temperatures, anywhere between 6 degrees Celsius, 43 degrees Fahrenheit, and 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Weather patterns start to become more interchangeable with a few more rainy days than summer. Winter, June to August. Temperatures can be anywhere between -3 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Fahrenheit, and 15 degrees Celsius, 59 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on which parts of the country you are in. Snow falls in alpine regions. Winter is also the low season for tourism, where you'll find prices at their lowest. Spring, September to November. Temperatures rise again during this shoulder season, where lows are 2 degrees Celsius, 36 degrees Fahrenheit, and highs are 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Expect a balance of fine and rainy days. For more information on the climate, check out the link in the description below. The best time for a honeymoon in New Zealand. Summer, December to February, is the most popular time to travel New Zealand, when the weather is warm and fine to do just about any activity. With that, however, flights, tours and rentals are at their most expensive. A bit more forward planning is also required to get your first choice of accommodation, rentals, etc., as many places book up quickly. The yaw season, i.e. winter, is the quietest and the cheapest time to travel, with the exception of some of the ski resort towns, such as Queenstown, Wanaka and Okune. Of course, what some see as a negative is that the temperatures can get pretty cold, especially on the South Island. Visiting in any of the shoulder seasons, i.e. from March to May and from September to November, brings warmer weather than winter, along with more affordable travel deals. That's typically the sweet spot for planning a honeymoon to New Zealand. What to pack for New Zealand? Just a large backpack or suitcase with a day pack each is all you need for New Zealand. By not overpacking, you'll find it easier to move between accommodations or not make your rental campervan feel too cramped. New Zealand has plenty of shops and services should you need anything while you're traveling. Honeymoon packing list. The key to packing lightly for New Zealand is versatile outfits. We recommend packing enough clothing for a week and using your accommodation's laundry facilities. Some handy items to remember include leggings/sweatpants/hiking pants, shorts, summer, sweater/hoodie/mid-layer, swimwear, hiking shoes, flip-flops, thermal underlayer, top and or bottoms, waterproof and windproof jacket, woolen socks, a warm jacket, winter/spring/autumn, a selection of light tops, underwear, toiletries including a mini first aid kit, sunscreen and insect repellent, New Zealand travel adapter, camera/phone, electronic device chargers. Extra batteries are a good idea. If you plan on camping, pack a lightweight tent and sleeping mat, and or staying in huts, a 4-season sleeping bag and a torch/flashlight. Visas, visa and IVL. A tourist/visitor visa for New Zealand activates automatically upon entry to New Zealand for most passports, usually allowing visitors to stay for up to 3 months. You also may need to pay for NZITA and IVL before arrival. New Zealand travel insurance. Although the ACC in New Zealand partly covers accidental injury medical bills, many travellers opt for travel insurance. Check out the website for hands-on recommendations. Identification. New Zealand has strict laws about having the appropriate ID to prove your age, for instance, when buying alcohol. Your passport is obviously coming with you to New Zealand, which is an accepted form of ID. For driving, bring your driving license. If your driving license is not written in English, then it will need to be accompanied by an international driving permit. Currency. The currency of New Zealand is New Zealand dollars, NZD. There are plenty of ATMs and towns and cities where you'll be able to withdraw cash. Credit cards are also widely accepted. However, there is a small fee with each overseas credit card transaction, so we recommend minimum withdrawals and paying for most things with cash. How long to spend in New Zealand? New Zealand is not your weekend honeymoon destination. We'd even say that it's barely worth coming for just a week. Considering New Zealand requires lengthy flights and expensive airfares to get to, as well as so much to see and do along the winding roads, you are better off spending as much time in New Zealand as possible. Nevertheless, we have an array of New Zealand honeymoon itineraries spanning from 1 week to 1 month, giving you an idea of what you can achieve in various timeframes. 1 to 2 weeks in New Zealand. Within this time, you should explore just one of the main islands. 3 to 4 weeks in New Zealand. 3 to 4 weeks is the recommended timeframe for visiting New Zealand on a honeymoon. That way, you'll have enough time to explore both the North Island and South Island comfortably. Get an idea of what you will have time to see with the free itineraries available on nzpocketguide.com under the Trip Ideas dropdown. Getting around New Zealand. A big part of the New Zealand honeymoon experience is the journey. That's why your choice of transport is perhaps the most important decision you'll make when planning. While everyone has an opinion, there's no best way to travel around New Zealand. It depends on your tastes and budget. Dive into our guide. What is the best way to get around New Zealand? Or get a quick overview below. Car rental. Experience ultimate freedom, privacy, easy driving and money saving, compared to campervans, by renting a car. There is a huge range of car rentals available in New Zealand, from budget to lavish. Campervan rental. Driving a home on wheels is an extremely popular way to get around New Zealand, which is an experience in itself. With camping restrictions and camping vehicle maintenance, however, there are more costs and hassles than meets the eye. While campervan travel is fun, know what you're getting yourselves into by reading all the tips on our site. National coaches. If you don't want to drive, plus save a ton of money on transport, national coach services offer the cheapest way of getting from A to B. Bus tours. Remove the hassle from your honeymoon by taking one of the structured tours around New Zealand. Some food and accommodation are included. There are numerous small group bus tours available to share the experience with like-minded travelers. Domestic flights, ferries and trains. While you won't be traveling extensively on planes, ferries and trains, these transport methods help you make connections when traveling between the North Island and South Island. Honeymoon destinations. Unless you're lucky enough to visit New Zealand for more than a couple of weeks, you'll have to make the tough choice between the North Island and South Island. How can we sum it up? Well, the North Island has your culture, beaches and volcanoes, while the South Island has your wilderness, wildlife and wonderful scenery. Once you know which island, you'll then need to handpick the destinations across New Zealand that speak to you. Below are links to our various honeymoon destination guides. North Island. Bay of Islands for its islands and beaches. Auckland for its big city life. Coromandel for its coastal heaven. Taupo for its the largest lake. Taranaki for its volcanoes and surf. Wellington for its capital city vibes. South Island. Picton for its water and wineries. Nelson for its beaches and forests. Kaikoura for its marine wildlife. Franz Josef Glacier for its glaciers. Queenstown for its adrenaline activities. Stewart Island for its remote wilderness and wildlife. And that's just the hotspots. We encourage you to explore other destinations in our honeymoon destinations guides. Romantic things to do. New Zealand has so much to do that we could barely fit it all in our 101 things to do in New Zealand. Regardless, we recommend giving that article a browse to get an idea of the activities, attractions and tours available. Of course, what you should do on your honeymoon really depends on your tastes and interests. But we have to admit that there are certain experiences that can't help but be utterly romantic, such as hot pools, wine tasting, helicopter excursions, hiking, bird sanctuaries, beach combing, kayaking, glowworm caves, horse trekking, stargazing, and much more. Don't forget to browse our New Zealand activities category on the site listing everything Aotearoa, the Māori name for New Zealand, has to offer. Honeymoon accommodation. Whether you're on a budget or looking to seriously treat yourselves, there's accommodation to suit in New Zealand. Although browsing our New Zealand accommodation category will show you just about every place to stay in the country, here's just a quick overview to give you an idea of places to stay with your boo. Boutique lodges. New Zealand has a number of boutique lodges scattered across the country in both small towns and pristine wilderness. Get the cozy B&B experience to set the right tone for your honeymoon. Hotels. Hotels are found in New Zealand's larger cities and top tourist destinations, following the usual international standard with star ratings. Holiday homes. Enjoy entire holiday homes, locally known as batches, all to yourselves, with plenty listed on booking websites like Booking.com, Expedia and Airbnb. Holiday parks. Stay in motel units, private cabins, glamping tents, tent sites or powered sites for campervans at this popular type of New Zealand accommodation. Campsites. Campsites are where you can pitch a tent or park a campervan overnight, essential if you are traveling in a campervan. Hostels. If you're on a budget, it's worth considering staying in a few hostels. Don't worry, they have private rooms. They also have communal facilities, such as a kitchen, laundry and bathrooms. Check out listings for every town in New Zealand on nzpocketguide.com for our favourite accommodation in each category. Dining and self-catering. To wrap up your honeymoon into a perfect little bow, be sure to stop by plenty of New Zealand's eateries. The country is brimming with cute cafes, while most restaurants offer a laid-back atmosphere in dining. You'll find fine dining establishments in the largest towns and cities, like Auckland, Wellington, and Queenstown, but kicking back at the beach with a fish and chips is a more authentic Kiwi experience. Self-catering in New Zealand. Many accommodations have cooking facilities, so there's no excuse to not enjoy some romantic nights in. Plus, buying groceries is much cheaper than eating out, so it's highly recommended for honeymooners on a budget. Supermarkets are available in all towns, while villages are more likely to have a convenience store, locally known as a dairy. Farmers markets, which occur on weekend mornings, are a good place to sample and buy local ingredients. The cost of a honeymoon in New Zealand. This is where things get tricky. Every couple is different when it comes to how much they spend in New Zealand. Some may set a budget, while others splurge. It's possible to enjoy a honeymoon in New Zealand for as little as 70 New Zealand dollars a day each, but most aim for a comfortable 200 New Zealand dollars a day. Of course, adding some luxury to your getaway will increase your daily budget further. For working out your honeymoon budget, we recommend compiling from the below prices that apply to you. Transport budget. Car hire per day, 30 New Zealand dollars to 150 New Zealand dollars. Two-person campervan hire per day, 60 New Zealand dollars to 260 New Zealand dollars. Petrol per litre, 0.3 gallons, 1 New Zealand dollar and 90 cents to 2 New Zealand dollars and 20 cents. National coach bus per 4-hour trip PP, 30 New Zealand dollars to 80 New Zealand dollars. Domestic flights per one-way PP, 50 New Zealand dollars to 240 New Zealand dollars. Train per one-way, 100 New Zealand dollars to 260 New Zealand dollars. Accommodation budget. Double room in a hostel, motel or holiday park per night, 80 New Zealand dollars to 90 New Zealand dollars. Double room in a hotel or lodge per night, 150 New Zealand dollars to 300 New Zealand dollars. Campervan powered site per two people per night, 22 New Zealand dollars to 40 New Zealand dollars. Department of Conservation, DOC, campsite per night PP, 15 New Zealand dollars. Motel self-contained unit per 2 people per night, 140 New Zealand dollars. Activities budget. Hiking trails, free. Skydive from 15,000 feet, 339 New Zealand dollars to 439 New Zealand dollars. Bungee jump, 150 New Zealand dollars to 290 New Zealand dollars. Whitewater rafting, 100 New Zealand dollars to 140 New Zealand dollars. Jet boat, 80 New Zealand dollars to 130 New Zealand dollars. Dolphin swimming, 110 New Zealand dollars to 160 New Zealand dollars. Whale watching, 120 New Zealand dollars to 160 New Zealand dollars. Glacier hiking, 390 New Zealand dollars to 470 New Zealand dollars. Cruise in Milford Sound, 60 New Zealand dollars to 100 New Zealand dollars. Rotorua Geothermal Park, 30 New Zealand dollars to 70 New Zealand dollars. Horse trekking, 50 New Zealand dollars to 150 New Zealand dollars. Canyoning, 150 New Zealand dollars to 300 New Zealand dollars. Hobbiton, 80 New Zealand dollars to 100 New Zealand dollars. Glowworm caving, 125 New Zealand dollars to 280 New Zealand dollars. Great Walk hut per night, 32 New Zealand dollars to 44 New Zealand dollars. Food. Main meal, 30 New Zealand dollars. Pint of beer, 8 New Zealand dollars. Small coffee, 4 New Zealand dollars and 50 cents. Fast food pizza or burger, 5 New Zealand dollars. 1 litre, 35 fluid ounces of milk, 2 New Zealand dollars and 40 cents. A dozen eggs, 5 New Zealand dollars and 40 cents. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of rice, 2 New Zealand dollars. 500 grams, 1.1 pounds, pasta, 1 New Zealand dollar and 20 cents. A loaf of sliced bread, 1 New Zealand dollar and 20 cents. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds, cheese, 11 New Zealand dollars. 100 grams, 3.5 ounces, dry freeze coffee, 7 New Zealand dollars. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of apples, 5 New Zealand dollars. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of bananas, 3 New Zealand dollars. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of tomatoes, 10 New Zealand dollars. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of onions, 2 New Zealand dollars. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of chicken, 13 New Zealand dollars. 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds of beef mince, 13 New Zealand dollars. That's it for this article. Hit like and subscribe to say thank you, and remember, this article is available for free on nzpocketguide.com. Check out the link in the description. Plus, there are thousands of articles for you to plan the perfect New Zealand holiday.